Good day, everyone. I am Aviation Wonders S.DEGAMO, and I'm gonna discuss about endocrine system. So the endocrine system is composed of endocrine glands and cells that secrete of release hormones. It helps coordinate functions between cells and is critical for maintaining homeostasis. So like the nervous system, endocrine systems also helps regulate body activities. Endocrine system and nervous systems are partner to each other because they work hand in hand, and they're also the body main communicators because they both have transmit signals or informations. But the major difference between the two is it's in the way on how they transmit signals or informations. The the endocrine system it uses chemical messengers called hormones to transmit informations, whilst nervous system it uses nerve cells to transmit information. Okay, so we have the components of endocrine system. The endocrine glands secrete the product directly into the bloodstream. These glands produces different types of hormones that cause a specific response in other cells, tissues, or organs that located throughout the body. They carry informations and instructions from one set of cells to another. These glands secrete the hormones to regulate many body's functions and the hormones which these targets using the bloodstream. Okay, so let's move on to the classes of chemical messengers. We have the autocrine, paracrine, neurotransmitter, and the endocrine chemical messenger. Um, these four categories of chemical signaling differs in the distance that the signal travels through the organism to reach its target cells. But not all cells are affected by the same signals. Okay, so the first one is autocrine chemical messenger, which stimulates the cells that originally secreted it. Basically, cells target itself. For example, during the infection, white blood cells are secreted. Several types of white blood cells can stimulate their own replication so that the total number of white blood cells are increases. The second one is paracrine chemical messengers, which is secreted by one cell type into the extracellular fluid and affects surrounding cells of a different type. Um, this paracrine signal moves by diffusion through the extracellular matrix, and usually it is quick responses that last only a short amount of time. For example, a paracrine chemical messenger is histamine released by certain white blood cells during allergic reactions. These histamines stimulate vasodilation in nearby blood vessels. Third one is neurotransmitter, secreted by neurons that activates an adjacent cells with whether it is another neuron or a muscle cells. Neurotransmitters are secreted into a synaptic cleft rather than into a bloodstream. The last one is endocrine chemical messengers. The endocrine chemical messengers are secreted into the bloodstream by certain glands and cells, which together constitute the endocrine system. These chemicals messenger affect cells that are distant from their sources. These types of signal usually produce a slow response but have a longer lasting effect. Okay, so there are two types of mechanism that maintains hormone levels in the blood. Within the homeostatic range, the regulation of
of hormone levels in the bloodstream is of two types: the negative feedback and the positive feedback. Um, the negative feedback is whereby the hormone secretion is inhibited by the hormone itself. It is called self-limiting system. Most hormones are regulated by a negative feedback mechanism, whereby the hormone secretion is inhibited by the hormone itself. Once the blood levels have reached a certain point, there is an adequate hormone to activate the target cells. Um, the hormone may the hormone may inhibit the actions of the other stimulatory hormones to prevent the secretion of the hormones. And the second one is positive feedback, which stimulates further secretion of the original hormone called a self-propagating system. Some hormone stimulates by atropic hormone promotes a synthesis and secretion of a trophic hormone in addition to stimulating their target cells.
Okay, so here are the endocrine glands and their locations in the body. So, ang brain, we have the wait, we have the hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal body, and sa neck naman, we have thyroid and parathyroid. Between sa lungs, we have thymus, and the abdominal area is the adrenals and the pancreas, and the ovaries and the testes. So the biggest gland is the pancreas, and the smallest gland is the pituitary gland. Okay, so what is pituitary glands? Pituitary glands is a small pea size that plays a major role in regulating by body functions and general well-being of a person. This referred to as the body's master gland because it controls the activity of other hormones secreting glands, and this hormone sits below the hypothalamus. So, pituitary gland sits on the sala, or a bony hollow underneath the skull and behind the bridge of the nose. These glands has two main lobes, which is the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary gland. The anterior pituitary gland is responsible for release the number of hormones that have widespread effects on the body. And these we have the growth hormone. Growth hormone promotes the growth and repair the tissues. It targets many tissues, um, especially cartilage, bone muscles, and fats. These hormones also stimulates the breakdown of fats for the production of ATP. Some of the effects of growth hormone are easily seen in skeletal muscles and lung bones. So it increases the growth of the bones in the skeletal muscles. Okay, so we have the hypersecretion growth hormones and the hyposecretion growth hormones. Hypersecretion growth hormones causes lengthening of the bones. This happens because of the excess secretions of growth hormone in our body. That's why ang mga bones na to mudako, wide siya ba? This lengthening of the bones during childhood causes giantism. So in total, opposite, we have the hyposecretions or the lower lengthening growth hormone. This happens, as I've said, it because of the lack of secretion of growth hormone in the body or in the bones. That's why in childhood, this causes dwarfism. We have luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, also known as gonadotrophins. These two acts on the ovaries or testes to stimulate sex hormone productions, egg, and sperm maturity. This we have adrenocorticotropic hormone. This hormone targets adrenal glands, which is located on top of each kidney. This hormone stimulates the adrenal glands to secrete steroid hormones, principally cortisol, or known as stress hormones. But the secretion of this cortisol is excessive because this syndrome called Cushing syndrome. And this Cushing syndrome is the fatty hump between your shoulder, a rounded face, and a pink or purple stretch marks on your skin. And this syndrome also causes the result in high blood pressure, bone loss, and type 2 diabetes. And not only that, they also have this hyperpigmentation or abnormal darkening skin of the skin due to the adrenal glands that it does not produce enough hormones or cortisol. So ang mahitabo, ang hypothalamus stimulates the pituitary gland to release more hormones and to try stimulate the adrenal glands to produce or to produce a cortisol. Also, these melanocyte stimulating hormone levels are also raised during pregnancy using birth control, which can cause hyperpigmentation of the skin or the darkening of the skin. So, as I've said, the excessive production of adrenocorticotropic hormone can lead to Cushing syndrome, which is the fatty between your shoulder, a rounded face, and a pink purple stretch mark on your skin, uh, high blood pressure, bone loss, and the type 2 diabetes. Next is we have the thyroid stimulating hormone. These hormones test the measure that amount of THS or the thyroid stimulating hormone in the blood. The results convey how well a person thyroid is functioning. So, siya may mag-result kung unsaon pag-function sa thyroid sa isa ka tawo. The thyroid is a butterfly-shaped gland in the throat, and it produces hormones that helps regulate many bodily functions such as the metabolism, heart rate, and body temperature. We also have this condition that if we have high TSH level, this indicates the hypothyroidism, and people develop hypothyroidism when their thyroid produce low levels of hormones. When someone's thyroid gland does not produce enough hormones, the pituitary gland produce more THS to compensate. Um, also, we have the high THS level and the low THS level. The low THS level, this indicates the hypothyroidism, also known as the overactive thyroid. Okay, so posterior pituitary gland also secrete hormones, but those not synthesize them. Instead, they synthesized by the hypothalamus and send the posterior pituitary for release into the bloodstream. These glands only have two hormones, like this. These are the oxytocins and the antidiuretic hormone. Oxytocin stimulates uterine contractions during labor and milk secretion during breastfeeding. Feeding. Oxytocin is a natural hormone that manages key aspects of the female and male reproductive system, including labor, delivery, and lactation. Okay, so next is the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is an endocrine gland in your neck. It makes two hormones that are secreted into the blood. First is thyroxine, adothyronine. These hormones are necessary for all the cells in your body to work normally, and also this thyroid gland is the largest gland, and it requires
and it requires iodine to function. And then sa last is parathyroid gland. The hormone produced by the thyroid glands. It helps maintain the right balance of calcium in their bloodstream. So, importante ni kaayo siya sa nerve as well as the health of bones. So, what happens if parathyroid hormones are too high? Um, Too much parathyroid hormone can cause calcium levels in your blood to rise too high, which can lead to health problems such as bone thinning and stones. And kung gamay ang imong parathyroid hormone in your blood, it causes you to have low levels to calcium. Next is the adrenal gland. The anatomy of adrenal glands has two main parts. The adrenal cortex is the outer regions and also the largest parts of the adrenal glands. These are located on top both each kidney. Adrenal glands produce hormones that helps regulate our metabolism, immune system, blood pressure response to stress, and other essential functions. So, it is composed of two parts, the cortex and medulla, which are each responsible for producing different hormones. So, adto sa adrenal cortex, first is the aldosterone. These mineralocorticoids produced by the zona glomerulosa plays a central role in regulating blood pressure and certain electrolytes, sodium and potassium. Other sends signals to the kidneys, resulting the kidney observing more sodium into the bloodstream and releasing potassium into the urine. So this means that aldosterone also helps regulate by the blood pH by controlling the levels of electrolytes in the blood. So ato dapit doon sa adrenal cortex. The first is the aldosterone. These mineralocorticoids produced by the zona glomerulosa plays a central role in regulating blood pressure and certain electrolytes, sodiums and potassium. Others send signals to the kidneys, resulting the kidneys absorbing more sodium into the bloodstream and releasing potassium into the urine. So that this means that um, aldosterone also helps regulate blood pH by controlling the levels of electrolytes in the blood. Okay, so next is pancreas. Pancreas is situated just behind the liver. So ang atong pancreas mahitabo siya sa abdomen part nato sa body. If you look at the pancreas, um, it is anatomically divided into few locations. So nakadivide siya into three regions or three parts sa pancreas, which is the head, body, and the tail. So inside the pancreas, there are a lot of enzyme-filled region which are known as acini. So ang mahitabo sa enzyme would be dripping into a main outlets which is known as a pancreatic duct. Okay, so let's proceed to the abnormalities. Diabetes mellitus causes too little insulin or insulin receptors. Ang mga symptoms ani niya is exaggerate appetite, excess urine, dehydration, thirst, and fatigue. So ang diabetes happens because of too much glucose floating around in our body. Mo nang nahitabo because our insulin is not working properly. Testes of the male secretes hormones, and ang hormones sa mga male is testosterone. Um, Testosterone is responsible for the growth and development of the male reproductive structure, muscles enlargements, the growth of the body hair, voice changes, and the male sexual drive. Sa ovaries mo produce siya og estrogen and progesterone. The target tissue is most tissues. Functions, it involves in uterine and mammary gland development and menstrual cycle. So together, these hormones contribute the development and function of female reproductive structure and other female sexual characteristics. So both ovaries and testes or the hormones they produce plays an important role in the development of sexual characteristic, structural and functional difference between males and females. So ang thymus gland, ang iyang giproduce is thymosin. The target tissues, immune system, tissues, and the function promotes immune system development and function. So ang thymus na to, makitan siya sa upper part ng thoracic cavities and it is important in the function of immune system. So ang thymosin ni produce siya and ang thymus gland aids the development of white blood cells called T cells. Then ang T cells, these helps protect the body against infections by foreign organism. So ang thymus importante jud kaayo ni siya sa early kayo nato ni siya sa early in life. Okay, so adto na po ta sa pineal body or pineal gland. So, pineal gland produces melatonin hormones. The target tissues is hypothalamus. The function is this plays a role onset of puberty and controls circadian rhythms. Lights affects its function. So the pineal gland is a small pine cone shaped structure that located in the anterior and posterior gland. Okay, so end of discussion. I hope nga nakasabot ka gamay, sir. And thank you for your listening and watching this video. Visit us tayo. Thank you and have a good night.